Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Build Along series with LearnBook. It's good to be back. I've had a long break. I was working on LearnBook here and there in the interim period, and it was I've come a little bit along there. I think you'll see that things have changed a bit since the last time we saw each other. And today I want to just do another live session, doing building one of the features that I really need at the moment. Which is the ability to create a new message. So I've got my message bar and in my section now. This is the lesson, and we have the sections down the left side, and in the middle, at the bottom, we have a bar. It's not quite made correctly, but it's kind of a floating message typing bar, like a chat message bar, where you can type in chat message, and then you have lots of different options of what you can do with it, adding images and videos, etc. But today I just want to do publish message. So if I click publish message, I would really like this to appear here as a message. I already have the message bit set up, but I haven't done the logic that actually creates the message from the menu yet. So that's a challenge. Let's see how we're going to do it. It's going to be similar to what we've done with this section. I just finished creating a section this week, and that was the challenge that I set for myself was I want to have in the database a reference to the sub items in my crazy hierarchical tree of like template to lesson to section to message to reply to whatever. I want to have it as an array of items. So the sections in a lesson, for example, are an array that I've constructed myself with just the ID of the section and the order, so that I know that I can just pull simple data out of these section, out of the section data, and put it in here just to get the order number of the section, the name of the section. So far that's as far as I've got. The reason I can do this is because when you load the page and you load a lesson, it's good for me to explain this even just for myself, because like I get far ahead with things and then I have to come back to what I was doing before. I'm like, how did I do that again? When you load a lesson, yeah, so it takes the lesson ID and pumps it into this messy little thing here, which takes the current section messages is the array that I want. Yeah, so it takes the message IDs from the array. No, what is that? It's load lesson data, lesson section, current section messages. I thought it was that one. Yeah, there, current lesson section. Sorry, it's just a mess. My bad. So when the page loads up, the lesson is there. The lesson is funneled in. I query the database to find the sections that are in the lesson object. Has a field called sections, so it's an array with IDs in it. So IDs and orders. So I funnel that through, pull out the IDs, and then query any item that has the that its ID is in this section list that I've pulled out. It's the idea to be able to load up an array, a local array called current lesson sections that stores the actual data from the database, like lots of objects from the database. So it means that anywhere I go and I have the lesson loaded, I can see, okay, this is in the sections array, this is section 3 with ID 7DQG, whatever. I want to know the name of that, or I want to know some data about that. I'll just go into the local array, current lesson sections. I'll filter that array for ID 7DQG, whatever, and I'll be able to pull the data out. So I don't need to carry around all, like, imagine there's like, the theory I had was imagine there's 10 lessons, or 10 sections, or one section has like 20 messages. I don't want to carry that data necessarily all around the place with me. Just when I want to filter it out, I want to take one item from that data that I want to deal with and filter that out from the array, and then use that and manipulate that whatever way I want. So that was the theory. Some of these things I do kind of in advance I'm not sure if I'm really going to need that much detail or that much kind of particular need for the data to be dealt with in that way. But I'd rather have it more complicated and not need it, as long as it doesn't take up too much like front-end resources. I'd rather have it more complicated and not need the complication, and maybe remove something in the future rather than saying, oh, now I've got too many messages. This is really weighing down the front end. I need a way to filter them out. That would be a sad thing to realize later on when everything's already built. So yeah, so that's how the array plays out. So I have the same thing for sections. The section, which I don't have any sections right now. Why do I not have a section? Because it's not in there. Yeah, okay, got it. The word. Yeah. So the first section loads up when you load the lesson. And there is the section. And the section contains a field exactly the same as lessons. The section contains a field called messages, and that's an array. So you can see there was an example here. I don't think the message exists anymore. Maybe it does actually. Copy that in. Where's the section I created? That one. Another handy thing, it just means I can like copy paste stuff, or I can go in and manually edit the arrays myself. Now that's not a good idea. What I'm doing is not necessarily a good idea, because if I've set a field to arrays, it's not a relation or a pointer anymore. It's not going to be automatically updated if I change something. So if I change a relation, the relation is updated everywhere. If I change an array, the fact that maybe the messages have a field, which I think they do, called section, belongs to section, so section is a pointer to a particular section. If I go and edit a different section and put that message in there manually in the array, then the section pointer is not correct anymore. So I could take it out manually and put it in manually to another array of another section, but then the pointer wouldn't be automatically updated because it's not an automatic connection. I have to do it manually. These are things that I have to keep in mind when I'm going down this road in the future. So lightweight solution for pulling data and loading data and filtering data, but possibly heavy in terms of development to create the different connections that are going to need to be there to make sure that if a section is here, it means that in the array of that section, this message exists, and I have to assure that manually myself. So I have to remember for the messages as well. So we have current section variable is set. So what I want to do is get this message created, get the current section messages array, and then insert this message object into that array, and then write that array to the section record in the database, and maybe do some MQTT magic, WebSocket magic to get message updated on because if another user is viewing the same lesson, I want them to have the new message in their feed as well immediately in front of them. So that's with MQTT. I have an MQTT connection set up in AWS. I have an EC2 server running Mosquito, which is a free open source tool for running MQTTs. It was a pain to set up. I'll have to make a whole video about it sometime. But if you want to get MQTT set up a bit more easily, it's one of the modules in Noodle that you'll find around about there, MQTT. So it'll ask you for a broker URL. So you can use Shifter is a good service. You can have a lot of testing for free, and it will give you a link that you need to put in here to get your MQTT working. You might have to play around with the link, because I think like Shifter gave me something like MQTT .. / and I think the solution was changing it to WSS. So like WebSocket Secure or Web Secure Socket, I can't remember. That made it work. And for me in Mosquito, it's not secure, so it's WS, just WebSocket .. and then the address of your the username, password, and the IP address of your MQTT server. If you want to know if it's working, just go and check in here. because if there's something wrong, it'll say MQTT failed to connect, and it'll keep saying that over and over and over again. And here it said MQTT connected to WS, and it gives the IP and the port. That means it's successful. So now I can send messages to that server, and it'll ping anybody who's subscribed to the same messaging service, for example, for the lesson. So I subscribe people when they come in to this lesson. I subscribe them to the, where is it? Here. So I think this was it. Yeah, I subscribe them to the lesson. You put this in here and enable it. Means that when something happens on that object ID, like the lesson ID, anybody who's loaded that same lesson ID anywhere, that are all subscribed to the same WebSocket, the same MQTT server. So they're all going to receive an event saying ping, like if I send a new message, it pings the server, and that pings out everybody else who's connected to that same messaging topic, the lesson. And so they get the signal fired received, and then I check which kind of event it is that I've set up, and then fire off a signal to say we need to refresh the sub items, for example, would be we need to refresh the message list of this section. And then that enables me to get everybody seeing the same messages at the same time. So that's cool, but that's a lot of explanation and not a lot of doing. So let's do something. We are in our message bar. Where the heck is it? Oh, but of course, bottom message bar. That would be obvious, wouldn't it? So yeah, we had HTML contents going here and function send message. I can't remember why I did that. Oh yes, that's it. Item ID. Clicked. Okay, yeah. And okay, yeah. So if the case is send message or publish message, all right, publish message. Menu item. Where do they come from? Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, this is the context menu that I created. I've added it to, yeah, so I've connected a repeater up to an input called menu items. That means on the outside then I get the, in the component I get the menu items JSON editor. So I can decide which menu items I want to have, and then each one of them will have like an icon and a name and a text color if I want to have them different colors, for example. So I wanted to change this to send, or maybe I'll say like quick send, I don't know, quick send message. That sounds good. It might not fit, but we'll see. Quick send message. I don't know, what do we say? Send now. I'm not good with language. It's not good, my strong point in terms of labeling buttons and stuff like that. I don't know what everybody else is going to understand when they see send now. They might think, but I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Send now, yeah. It's like send now, and then there was also, I wanted to change, text editor opens like a floating text editor where you can have a bit more space to edit the message, edit a bigger version of the message. So that text editor doesn't make sense to anybody I've shown it to. So it's good because, yeah, as a developer, I know that it's opening the text editor, but as a user, you don't know what a text editor is. So let's say edit message. Edit message. It shouldn't be an open new window, because it opens a window like this. This is just a complete prototype, don't laugh, but it's like a floating resizable message group, like a draggable resizable message group. That's pretty cool. That you would be able to like continue your message in a bigger and more feature rich text editor, which is TinyMCE, which I might have shown already. TinyMCE text editor, really good text editor. Anywho, that's not getting us any further. So I've got send now. It sends out the ID of the item, which is, you can see here, send message. So I know that if send message comes out, I run the function with a switch and say, yeah, if it's going to be send message, then it's going to do output send message. So output send message is going to create a new message. but that's only the beginning. So we want to probably first make sure that the HTML content is not empty. So let's wrap this in an if, I guess. If inputs HTML and so we want to say if it doesn't exist, that's the exclamation mark, it doesn't exist, then return. Don't do it if it does that. Or no. No, hold on. I have a better idea. This is stupid. Let's just use the switch. So let's say there's a case which is empty, and empty is outputs empty message. Break. So if it's empty, we're going to show a toast that says, nope. Are we? Yep, we are. We're going to show, oh yeah, because it's the component, sorry. Oops, show toast. I'm going to show a toast that says, please enter a message. Something like that. That'll do for now. So empty message shows a toast, send message. Otherwise, oh no. Of course it's going to not send. The case is not the double point. You know, I do need the if after all. And so if there's not HTML content, and puts empty message. Don't know if that'll work, we'll see, and return. Yeah, that should fire off the signal and then return. And then we can do an else. Yes, we probably don't have to, do we? And then there, and then here. Good. Probably make this indented. Oh, can I do it for the whole thing? Yeah. JavaScript skills. Not very good. Okay. So yeah, either if there's no HTML content, it returns it, else it looks to see what the button clicked was. I know, hold on, wait. No, because if we want to add an image or edit the message, we could do that without it being empty. Oops. Yeah, I should probably like actually think these things through sometimes. Yes, let's do all this. Undo all this, undo all this. And so yeah, I was totally wrong. We're gonna do an expression. Gosh darn it. Let's say HTML content is not equal to empty string. So HTML content goes here. And then so for many cases clicking on add a resource, we don't need to have a message in here. So I was wrong to think that we should alert the user on in any case, no matter what they click on the menu, if there's no message in the HTML content, if there's no output. It's only when we're doing send now that that's important, because even edit message, it opens the editor and you might want to type your message directly in there instead of in the small editor here. So it's the send now button that needs to be evaluated that way. So we're going to take the send now signal and message signal, run this to see if it has content or not. If they've clicked it and it doesn't have content, then we're going to show the toast that we got earlier. And if it does have content, then we're going to start the create message sequence. We should have some ACL here, but I don't know exactly what ACL yet, but we will figure that out. Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. we need to add the people who are involved in this lesson, and I don't think I have a role for that yet, so I'll do that later. So if we want to create a new message, then now checks the HTML content. If there's no content, it says please enter a message. And if it has some HTML content, it's going to fire create message with the text of the message. Do we need anything else? Yeah, the section. So variable. So current section is going to go into the section. The user is going to go into the learner part. Because it's me who created the message. No, because it could be the teacher who created the message. No, so forget that. I can't remember why I put that in there. Section is good. Assignment we don't have. Complete we don't need to set, so that's fine. Good. Now, into the meat of the issue. So we're going to take the current section object. There she blows with her one message. Right? We're going to take that array of messages that you just saw here, array of messages. Ding. We're going to take it out. I'm going to say take out the messages. Give me the messages. Yeah, so I'll feed the array with those messages. Then we're going to create an object that we want to put into that array. It'll all make sense. The style of it is going to be message ID order. That's all we need. The ID is auto-generated. We don't use that. If you look at the original object, the messages just have, oh no, it's generated an ID. Anyway, message ID and order is what we need. We're going to create an object with message ID and order. Message ID is a string because it's just a ID string. And order is a number because I want that to be a number. So what we need to know is what in the heck number of messages do we currently have in this array so that we can say the order of the new one is going to be one more than that. My maths is fabulous. So message count plus 1. So we're going to take the message count, the current one, items message count plus 1. And then the result of that is going to be the order of the message. So I have to go back a step there. Oh, there's no order. Is there no order? Should be order. It's because I put time in there instead, and I thought I'll probably organize them by time, but I am going back on that decision. And I would like to have an order just in case, because you never know when somebody wants to edit, and like the teacher might want to put the message somewhere else, like maybe they've written the messages in the wrong order and they want to reorder them or something like that. So just in case, let's put it in. If we don't need it, we'll take it out later. So we're going to add the message, the new count. So how many messages are there? 1. Well, in this order is going to be 2. And we're going to create an object that has the same order. And that has the ID of the message we just created. So now we have a little object that's going to pop up that's going to look the exact same as the objects in here. And what we want to do is stick that into the array. So this object, the object ID, is going to be inserted into the array ID, which is this one. And then we've got a new array that has the one item here plus the new item we just created. And now we're going to do update, what is it, record thing, that record properties. We're going to take the section and we are going to update we're going to put the items from the array, which hopefully will have updated, dynamically will have updated. So after I insert the object, this previous step will have a new object in it. so that the items can go into the messages list. So this array then, this newly augmented array locally gets put into the database as well, so that we have that in the database, and then I can fire off an MQTT message to everybody who's in this group and say, hey guys, we've got an object that's just been updated, and the action is refresh all sub items. So we want to refresh all the sub items of that section, and then that's going to be the do signal. Now we need to work out, so that's the organization of things, but we need to work out what order things are going to happen in, and where do we need signals for this. So create new record is good. Current section is going to be loaded on page load, so we don't need to worry about that. It doesn't change. The object will be loaded from the section, and the array will be populated from the section on page load. This, however, needs to be done dynamically. It needs to be done, like manually. It needs to be done in order. So when we create a new message, we should, no, hold on. First, we should check, oops. We should run our calculation, because then we're going to create with the result message. And once we've created the message, we're going to create an object. And once we created that object, we're going to insert that object into the array. And once we've inserted that, we're going to set record properties. And once we've set record properties, we're going to send the MQTT event. And of course, we're going to show a toast to say, well done, message created. Successfully, exclamation mark. I'm an excited person, as you can tell. So in theory, this should work. It looks like a mess. Let's do here. Like this is like the overarching bits. This is the run bit, section bit, just count. Then we run the section bit, and then we do the creating an object bit, and then that and that and that. Okay, and we should label these as well, but I'll do that afterwards. I want to check if it works. So message test. Nope, doesn't like it. Schema mismatch message order, expected number got string. Well, that's an easy thing to solve. Of course, this is outputting a string object. Why is it giving me object? Run message off the items to the message count instead of the count. So let's see if it actually outputs the number. That would be good, but I have a feeling it's going to output a string, because these expressions tend to output strings. So I'm going to pass it through a number anyway. And then we're going to set that number into order, and that one into order as well. And then we'll disconnect this one, this one. Ooh. Okay. And let's try that again. Like it. Creator is required. Ah, well, yeah, that was where our user was. There was where our user was. It was for creator, not for learner. ID, creator. Nice. Whoop, something happened. Did it update the record? Did it send the event? Yeah, it did. Did it show the toast? Yeah, it did. Currently, we have no new message, but if we refresh, we might. Yeah, we did it. It didn't refresh. That's easily solved. We just need to get the MQTT event to also refresh us at the same time, like tell us to fetch the message list at the same time. So that's easily done. Let's do that, and then we can sort of finish up for the day. So bottom message bar note, what was I gonna do? Yeah. Lesson main section container. Current section messages. So it's this one that needs to be refetched. So hold on. It needs to be refetched from its source. probably here. Current lesson messages. Yeah, that needs to be refetched, and this needs to be refetched. So I don't want to do it with these current ones, because if I start hooking up the fetch signal to these two things, then there's current section messages there. If I start hooking up fetch signals to these two things, then they'll only be fetched when the MQTT runs, and all these other ones that are currently connected up that are kind of like floating in space and just doing it on page load, they're not going to work anymore. So that's not good. So I want to do a new little section in this messy mess down here. There, put this here, current section messages and current lesson messages. We're going to refetch all of these arrays, I think. Or maybe we have to rerun this whole thing. Jeez. Oh, jeez. Array, yeah. Current section messages, maybe that would. Current section object. What if I refresh the section object instead of doing that? Maybe it would trigger a refresh, a cascading refresh all the way in. Maybe, I don't know, but I would rather try that than what I was about to do. So let's do MQTT. Leave MQTT event. We're going to give it the section object ID. That means that we're subscribed to that, and then when that gets received, and that should fresh sub items fetch that, and we're gonna have the same fetch problem then, but maybe I can do fetch. Yeah, maybe I'll do fetch like this. Did mount fetch. This might not work at all anymore. Yeah, it doesn't work at all anymore. I hate fetching. I don't know why it doesn't work. I have my two messages, but then they don't output properly into the lesson data anymore because of this fetch signal. Outputting any. Yeah, because the page loading is too fast. That's why. So as you can see, it's firing off the ID from here. So we could say when the value is changed of this, then section value changes. Then we also fetch the object. Probably need some sort of delay then, I guess. Let's try with the delay and see what happens. To rule out that possibility that we would need a delay. I don't want to use a delay, but I have to just to get it working. 1 second delay, it's going to fetch it. Still doesn't work. Oh, it did work. But it probably didn't give the... We're too late to load the messages. No, I don't know. Think about that. Let's try my other idea. Let's say that it's going to fetch a clone of this object. Now we've got our messages, and maybe it's just going to fetch clone this. Does that still work? Yeah. So we type in fetch test. Send it. Did it get... Nope. Did trigger it. Refresh sub items. Refresh sub items. Trigger. Oh yeah, it did, and it's fetched it. And it hasn't updated the method. Oh, it has. This one also has, but it hasn't passed the messages in here. Section messages, but it didn't trigger this because this hasn't changed. The messages hasn't changed. Unless sections hasn't changed. So we need to maybe fetch that. Maybe we need to fetch that. Get all lessons from message. Get section. Yeah, what if we fetch this current lesson sections and say that when it's fetched, it also runs. So we'll do our MQTT here and say that is the when it's refresh sub items, it's going to fetch that array and hopefully trigger what we need. We need to have the current lessons section variable. I might be overcomplicating things here. Subject ID, we need to subscribe the person to this section, and then when they're subscribed, it'll output that signal when we send the message. Ah, nice. It worked. That's. But will it work on page reload? No, it won't. Oh, my stars. Just fetching, just this, not a nightmare. Fetching. Now that we've connected up that, it doesn't load on page load anymore. We disconnect it, and it does load on page load because it changes. It's just because I guess it's not fetching it anymore. It was like auto fetching it on page load before, and now it's not fetching it at all anymore. We really need is to have like a fetch on page load thing again in here. Connect up signal like that. Really stabbing in the dark here. So when values changed and we have some messages, then we fire off this and fetch for me. This we can chuck, and this we can chuck. So we're going to wait until the messages updates, and then we're going to send the fetch signal in there. It doesn't work. It has fetched, but hasn't given any items. Because current lesson sections. Ah, because no. Yes, that's why. Okay, and also I didn't connect it up. Oh, I did connect it up. So no, what we need to do is this. So initially it fetches, does the query. And then when it does the query, it changes. And when it fetches, okay, that could work. No, it doesn't. Section's not fetched anymore. What have I done? I ruined everything. Section up there because the current sections haven't been queried anymore. Probably that's why. Let that run. Let that run on page load. Fetch it on page load. Give me the section. No. Did it fast enough. Not getting the section lists. No, we're gonna have to rethink this. I'm gonna have to majorly rethink this. So let's disconnect that for now. We know that that's kind of the right place to be, so let's put that comment in here and say this works for new messages but doesn't load if load on doesn't show message list on page load if we connect the to the fetch signal of current lessons here. And then we'll get back to that later. But anyway, you saw it working once. It was cool. It did work for a second, and I could also hook it up again and just see it working again just for fun. Reassure myself that I'm not a loser. You know I am, because now I've ruined everything. Okay. Let's unhook it. Ah, yeah, we can't hook it up to the fetch. Ah, yeah, I remember what we did. First did that, then we hooked it up. So if we can get it to do what it's doing here, loading on page load, doing all the things it's just done, and then afterwards, when there's a refresh subitem signal, it does another fetch, then it's already got the local data, the sections, the section messages. So now it can add to it, and then that works, and that actually creates the message. That's good. Yeah, I can scroll down. Oh yeah, I can scroll down. Cool. So yeah, we're getting somewhere, but not quite there. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. That's been a lot of complex stuff and a lot of debugging, but I hope that's been an interesting lesson as well about some of the challenges with, I found that at the beginning, it's so easy to just put queries and data nodes down on the canvas and just let them do their thing, let them load kind of all synchronously when the page loads and just do their thing, not hooking up any signals to the query, just letting the query run just naturally without any interference from the do signal. But when you actually need to do something with the signal, suddenly it all breaks down because it's like, oh, but now I'm not gonna run until this fetch signal is connected, is fired. So all of the other things kind of break down too, because they're like, oh, I haven't received any items, so I don't have anything to do. And then we really have to kind of link all of this stuff up by signals and let it all run one by one in signal, so that if we have an extra signal attached to it, it's okay because it's already hooked up with signals for page load, and an extra signal is not going to break everything, which it has done today. So that's a good lesson on not being too hasty and just thinking, oh, great, it's working because it's all running synchronously without signals, but actually trying as much as possible to hook everything up that you need to hook up by signals, so they run asynchronously, like one by one. That's a good lesson. I'm teaching lessons through my mistakes. That's how I roll. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time in the LearnBook